Good evening. My name is Alpheaus Marcus, and I'd like to welcome you to Truth to Power for an Urban Agenda. Today, I have one of the biggest up-and-coming advocates out of the Bronx sitting with us today to explain to you what needs to be done within our community and how we can all work together. Mel, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melody. My organization is No Voice Unheard. We work with mothers that lost kids due to gun, gang, and street violence.
Now, aside from the work that she does with those affected with gun violence, she's also one of the coolest individuals you'll ever see.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get into what's been going on. Now, what we've seen within the last, let's say, month, a rise in gun violence. Do you think that our elected officials are doing enough to make, an impact in that?
I believe they're trying to make a difference, but they're not going about it the correct way, being that they're not physically in the field. They don't really know how to engage with the community. I feel like if they were to work closely with people like myself, people that are on the ground, besides the people that they actually have in place, it would be better. I think that they have to get into the footwork of meeting the people in the community and engaging with them and seeing the needs from their perspective to get a better understanding of the community. I think that they're just looking at it from one way versus a versatile way and getting to know the community themselves.
Now, what you've seen and how you view things, I've always said that. I've said that within our communities, they look at our communities as, how can I say it, a product.
Right.
Where they don't really provide the services, but they have individuals that take advantage of the communities. And they expect us to vote for these individuals where we're not getting anything in return.
Right.
How does the families that you deal with actually look at how the lack of resources affect their communities?
Well, to be honest with you, I have a lot of mothers that thank me for doing the work that I'm doing because they do feel that the elected officials do not care. And especially with a lot of cases that go unsolved or they're shown on the media, but then you won't hear about it anymore. So their question is, when they do come to my event, they ask elected officials, what's the status on my case? Why is it that no one is paying attention to the case? Why is it that this child was murdered a year ago and we haven't had a person apprehended? We don't have any idea who did it, what's going to happen with the person. So there's a lot of uncertainty with the community, with the elected officials, where there isn't any true, like they don't believe in the elected officials. They see them and they just see that they're there for a photo op, for a news conference, to look good for an election and to get votes. But they're not there to do the work. They're just there for pictures.
I can, resonate with that because I've had elected officials, and most recently I had the mayor literally ask me, he said, you want to take a picture? I was like, absolutely not.
Right.
So I know the feeling. Do you think that majority of the advocates and activists that, how can I say it, they talk about being against gun violence. Do you think there would be a way for together form a coalition to where we make a bigger impact? Because, I met you, 2-3 years ago? I think that was one of the most powerful moments I've ever had.
Thank you.
Because one, to have a female do the work that you do, it always starts from what I've seen with females. Us guys doing this work, I'm not afraid to say it, we deal with too many egos. It's hard to get men together. Right. Whereas females, like y'all,
get the job done.
And make it look good.
I've been blessed to have the community embrace me and tell me a lot of personal feelings that they have, especially the mothers. They look to me to see if I can speak to the DA personally to see what's going on with the case, to see if we can put more light on situations. And I do believe that there can be some form of change if these elected officials would sit down and understand that and stop thinking that the people that you are having underneath your umbrella are the ones that are actually doing the footwork. Yes, we have a couple of organizations that are on payroll for them, but they're not really doing the footwork. They're just giving pamphlets out, brochures, t-shirts, and wristbands. That's not engaging with the community in no way. You're not speaking to the youth. You're not going into these communities and asking people themselves, what do you think can make a change? Which I'm actually going into the communities and asking them these questions.
Trust me, I know.
And you get a response and you get people willing to work with you and wanting unity, but you have to do that footwork.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And like I always say, whatever you need from me,
Right.
all the resources I got,
Right.
all you gotta do is call.
Thank you.
Because I've seen the work. I believe in the work. I know what you're doing. So open up the doors, it just makes it that much more effective. I recently sat back, right? And it was kind of like a reflection. You had a 6-year-old that was shot in Brooklyn, Juve.
Right.
It kind of touched because, you know, I got kids, but my kids have kids in that.
Right.
So it's like, I'm a grandfather. I can't wait for it to knock on my door.
I
You know
agree.
what I mean? And when individuals such as yourself doing the work, like, it makes it that much more impactful and purposeful.
Right.
Are you averse from working with other advocates?
I am. I push back on that because I believe it has to come from the heart and not for a paycheck.
Right.
You know, I do the work myself with no government grants or anything like that because it's purely passion and it's from the heart. So I've been receptive to even sitting down at the table with any of them because, like I said before, they just want to give out brochures and wristbands and t-shirts. I don't believe any of them are sincere. You know, yeah.
I know. Listen, let me say this. I know I've been doing this work for maybe 6-7 years. Hard now. Before I used to dib and dab it.
Right.
I watch and I tell brothers, I say, listen, you know, if your platform with these people is not geared at helping the community, there's a problem.
Right.
Because within our communities, it's poverty stricken. We have segregation within the school systems, where our kids are systemically conditioned to become a product of the environment.
I
and that's
agree.
one of the most scariest things.
It is.
I prefer more females because, like, even from the streets, they get it done. And when they do it, it's like you see it.
Right.
How can we, and I say this collectively, how can we get parents, right, as well as victims of gun violence together to where it becomes more purposeful? Because especially with now, what's going on? Everybody talking about Black Lives Matter. Listen, let me. I'm gonna give you my experience. Hawk Newsom, right? Here it is. He talks at Black Lives Matter.
Right.
A few years ago, I tried to get him on the fold because what I said to him is, we can't just talk about it when we have issues with the police. We have to be in a community.
Right.
Now, what I'm asking you is join me. This way we can show our Black Lives Matter by stopping some of the violence within our communities.
Of course.
A lot of them guys are not with that.
Right.
And it makes me mad because, and it's not the, you know, punch holes in anybody, but I can't see how they have a platform and they misuse it.
I just think they changed the narrative. You know, I'm a firm believer that humanity matters. before anything. And I do think that it's time for them to change that narrative. It's become too violent. People have too much hatred. And we have to be realistic. There is no such thing as abolishing police.
Oh,
We cannot police ourselves, and we're not equipped to police ourselves. So the narrative of that just has to go. It's toxic and it's dangerous.
I agree with that. Now, when they initially first talked about defunding police, I can tell you, me personally, I sit with a lot of them high ups, and what I said to them is, I can show why the money that they giving y'all can be someplace else. You look at Rikers Island. Rikers Island usually hold anywhere from 21 to 25,000 people on it. The population is under 4,000. Some say it's even less than 1,000. So if crime is down, right, then there's no need to actually, fund something that's geared at being a deterrent, especially when we need the service. I've had an issue with the PAL. Right? It's funded by the Police Foundation and a few other, but they charge the kids to come in. Like these organizations, and I've had it out with some of these church officials. They talk that talk, but when it come time to open up the doors, they want a paycheck, knowing that you're in a poverty-stricken environment. How can we become the voice that the people need, the leadership that the people need, to where they see effective change?
Well, that's why I'm creating this mobile app, because it's going to be considered like the Citizens app, where you type in a child's name and you find out everything about the case. You find out testimony from the parents, from the friends. It's going to be a group chat with mothers engaging with each other for healing purposes. It's going to be a connection to the community, where we won't have no information on things, because when a crime is committed in the community, we need to keep in mind that it does affect the youth. It affects the community besides the parents. And that's where the anger, the rage, and the crime rate starts spiking. Because everyone just wants to retaliate. And my question to the elected officials, when you write these checks to these organizations and these grants, do you check with the community to see how they're effectively making a change? Or are we just going by the amount of pamphlets that are handed out and the amount of rallies that they keep having that are making no sense and making no change in the community? It's just walling up even kids at this point. You have young kids about 8, 9 years old saying F the police. I don't understand how that's acceptable.
I've seen that.
That's just conditioning them to be a product of their environment.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen kids, and it kind of like me being a disciplinary with children. I'd be like, yo, you need your ass whipped.
Is out of line.
With that mentality, you're headed for one or two places. You either going to jail, somebody gonna kill you.
And that's my question to Hawk Newsom. Why do you think it's okay for a child to say F the police? Why do you think it's okay to keep that narrative? All you're doing is just creating statistics and for cops to come into our communities and to come with their hands on a gun. Because people see officers now and all they want to do is just be tense, upset. I'm not saying that there are no bad officers at all. But at the same time, you're conditioning people to have that hatred. And that's a narrative that has to just go away at this point.
Let me say this here. And what you're saying, I understand. I can tell you from behind the scenes, I've done a lot of work with changing the directions with the way the police interacts with the Black communities now, from when it first started. And trying to get brothers on board with the now direction. A lot of guys are like, I ain't sitting with the police. And I'm saying to myself, like, you're not a street guy, so what the fuck you mean you ain't sitting with the police? Like, slow down. Because what you're doing now is you're creating a situation where literally the disconnect is going to continue. Once the disconnect continues, the problems enhances. Because at some point in time, knowing how the media depicts our communities, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. I looked at with a lot of these elected officials, And one thing I can say, I'm grateful. A lot of these guys that run out here with the protests and everything, I'm grateful for, because they give an actual meaning to some of the things that I do behind the scene.
Right.
You know, I've worked my way up in this where I can call any office. Any office. That's why I said, whenever you need, just let me know. Any office.
Right.
Governor. That's the only person I haven't sat with was the mayor and the governor. But I got access to all the office. The problem that persists, again, within our community, we're not looking at the exchange of value of our communities.
Right.
We don't really see how the continued violence plays a part in the way that we're looked at.
Right.
We're looked at as product. Like, people talk about the mass incarceration, and they didn't even understand that was a business. They look at our community as a business, and no one has yet to take a full stance to keep that narrative from continuing. I would love for that to take place.
Right.
You know, that's why I said, I love what you do.
Right. And I would also like to tell the youth as well, just because you come from poverty doesn't mean you have to stay in poverty. You know, I excelled in my career, and I've hit the peak where you wouldn't even believe it. Coming from the Bronx, you know, I grew up in a block where 40 people got indicted. So I know what it is to be in the hood. I know what it is to work corporate. And I understand it from both spectrums, you know, and I do say to them that believe in yourself, believe in what the future holds, and, you know, don't go with the flow, because that's what's going on in the world. Stand up for what you believe in and always stick to principles and morals.
That's key. A lot of guys don't have that.
Right.
And when we look at the way things go, they're not built for jail.
Right.
I mean, literally, they're not built for jail. Some of the services that they provide within our communities, they're not really reaching the kids that they need to reach.
Exactly.
We have to be the voice. That's one of the reasons why, you know, I guess this here show was created, because more people was visualized. They was on social media, and they get to see what's actually taking place. The movers and shakers, the ones that's really sincere about working in their communities.
Right.
And I think, you know, this is the first time I'm having a guest. And I love having another advocate that can literally show the people that some of us out there that's doing the work, we ain't getting paid for this.
Right.
But we doing it because we want to make sure that your kid don't become the next statistic.
Right.
I appreciate that.
And I'm here as a resource to the youth. You know, I have great connection in the work field. I know a lot of recruiters that can get you a job without an interview. You just have to be willing to do that work. Stay in school, stay positive, you know, and it can happen.
Well, you know what we're going to do? Because we're going to have some people that's going to want some jobs. So
I'm good. I'm excellent at making resumes.
Look, we're going to make that happen. Because
I do HR for a profession, so that's my field. So that's why I'm here for the youth. It's just I've been real humble waiting for that platform to be finished, and then I'll provide those great services for free to the youth. As long as you're in school and you're willing to put in that work in school, then I'll help you.
Oh, we going to make it happen.
Yeah.
We going to make that happen. Because, like I said, when I first met you, I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
If, like, literally, if we had more people, more leaders like you, it would be so much effective. And
you see how the parents are and how fulfilled they feel even coming there that day.
Listen,
they get to wear the shirts, you know.
Look,
it's a
they
beautiful
came
day.
as far as down south.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As far as DC.
Yeah, that was big.
So it shows that the work you're doing is for real.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I always loved about you.
Right.
The work you're doing is something that's necessary.
Right.
And that's why I had to have you as the first guest.
I appreciate that.
Because literally, the example will be shown.
Definitely.
How it's being done and how effective it is. When people came from far as down south, I was like, she's touching a lot of people's home.
I had 500 people attend.
Yeah.
And that was my first event.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
But that shows how much people believe in you.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, you know, when I opened up, the next leader,
Right.
the future
Yeah.
of what, you know what I'm saying, what we do.
The voice of the voiceless.
Listen, if ever you need me, I don't care what it is, you got my info.
Yes.
Any permits,
Right.
I'll make happen.
You're my guy from day one.
Any events. Whatever problems you call me, I'm gonna make it happen. Because I love to do things behind the scene because, like I said, when it manifests itself, I want to be that person. Literally, when I pass, I want put my body in the streets and see how many people come. That's why I do what I do.
Well, you know, I'm gonna make that happen. God forbid, but
no,
that would be
like
when Biggie got brought through Brooklyn.
That's what I'm
talking
talking
about. What we doing.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. Because that's how many people's lives I want to touch.
Of course.
You know what I mean? That's my goal. That's why I do what I do. From working with the chancellor, desegregating the schools, to working with the police commissioner, and you know, making sure that our communities don't continue to be treated the way it is.
Right.
The next step, literally, is, like I said, with the lawmakers. We're putting something together where it's a bill to desegregate the schools, because what I found with a lot of the issues is the people that's responsible for the lack of funding and the false narratives of taxes. Everybody look at them like, nah, that's not true, but it is.
Right.
So I definitely want you on board with a lot of that. And like I said, whenever you need me, just call.
Thank you.
I appreciate this. Well, let me say this here to you. I started the NCO program. I started the Build the Block program. They just didn't want to pay me to teach the class.
Right.
But I literally started that due to the fact that at the time I was filming a documentary titled The Relationship Between the Black Community and NYPD. They liked the concept to the point where they took that, you know, and started it. I have no problem whatsoever when it comes down to sitting down with police, as long as the police are actually acclimating themselves within the communities.
Well, they're actually 2 young officers, 23 and 22.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Because now that's around the same age.
Yeah, they get an understanding.
Yeah, that's what's up. I appreciate the fact that y'all tuned in with this here first guest, and the first time us doing this the way we doing it. You know, this Truth to Power for an Urban Agenda. Again, our future leader here, she's doing what she has to do for a community where nobody else is bothered to step up. And if she could do it, best believe you can do it. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for tuning in, and see you at another segment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
You want to give me the email so they can reach out?
Well, my Instagram is No Voice Unheard. The email is novoiceunheard1@yahoo.com.
There you have it. No voice unheard. That's what leaders do. They make their voice political. That way their communities benefit from it.
Right.